Here's a story for you that I thought you might be interested in. I was watching the news last Sunday night when there was a report about two surfers who were literally paddling their surfboard all the way from South Australia through to the Central Coast. That's a long way to paddle. In fact, I was even questioning whether they meant paddling or were they driving from beach to beach all the way and checking out all the surf. But from what it was describing, it was paddling, and they were dressed for hours and hours out in the open sea. So anyway, I went looking, and on the Today Show, I found, actually, it must have been before Sunday night, because, yes, it was Monday morning. On the Today Show, they gave another report, and I thought, oh, I'll get some photos off here. So I was there pressing my camera to get photos as it was going along to give this report to you. So they bumped into both these guys, and you can see that they're well prepared for, heavy surf and a long time out at sea. And they got them at Malakuta. Now, Malakuta, if we go to the map, can you see the border there between Victoria, the dark blue down the bottom, and then New South Wales above? Malakuta is almost on the border there between the New South Wales and Victoria. But see the dotted line? The dotted line started in Adelaide, in South Australia, where they left, and they've come all the way around the coast of South Australia, all the way around the coast of Victoria, and are heading up now the coast of New South Wales and expect to be back here. Apparently they come from the Central Coast, expecting to be back here. I think I even heard the name Wombrel in the discussion sometime, but I don't think it's going to be too soon because it takes a long time to paddle, doesn't it? So this is their story that they were reporting on, and you can see one of them there is out there paddling on a calm sea. But how about when the sea is not so calm? Well, first of all, they don't mind it when it's a bit rough because that provides some good waves for them to do some surfing. So they do some surfing in between their paddling around the country. All right. And the other thing that would worry me, what about if there were sharks in the water? Well, they reported they had seen one all that way, and they'd only seen one shark. Excuse me. So that was pretty good. But one day they saw this. What's this? A rat. Does the second picture give you a better clue? He's picked up his tail and picked up his ears. No, it's not a rat, actually. It's a little wallaby, a little bit bigger than a rat, but not as big as a kangaroo. And they met this about 400 metres offshore. And the poor animal was struggling. He'd obviously been in the water for a while to have been that far out to sea, but how long had it taken him to get there, and how much had he tried to get back to land? Whether he got caught in a rip, they didn't know. All they know is they found this struggling wallaby way out at sea. What were they going to do? You wouldn't want to get scratched too much, would you? But they were probably prepared for that side of it, so that was all right. So what they actually did is that they grabbed the wallaby and put it on one of the surfboards. Well, it didn't stay there very long. It rolled off and fell back into the sea, and it seemed that they several times picked it up after it rolled off the surfboard and put it back on the surfboard until finally he seemed quite content and went surfing all the way into the shore. So I've never seen a wallaby surfing, but it would be an interesting experience, wouldn't it? I've seen dogs out with their masters or mistresses and surfing along, and that's interesting to watch, but not a wallaby. But anyway, when they got to shore, the wallaby initially hopped off, and it was too soon. It thought, well, I'm close enough to land, I can go now. But it was too soon, and very quickly he realised that he was still struggling. And they jumped in, picked him up and walked him into the shore and put him down. And at first he lay there for a good while on the sand. Obviously enjoyed the safety of getting to land, but he just lay on the sand for a while until eventually he was able to get up, and whether he had a lung full of sea water or not, I don't know. But eventually he was able to get up, and he slowly managed to hop away and went off to hopefully live many more lives, many more years as a wallaby, and not try to go back to sea again. Although, it's interesting, while we were away, there were several places where the kangaroos were not only on the exposed headlands going out. In fact, I think I even dropped in a... Oh, there they are. We're wishing the surfers all the best as they're going back to Central Coast, finishing their paddle. But we really thank them for looking after those animals. And I do have a picture in a minute for you. But we were away on holidays recently, and I've got to say that I was amazed at how many kangaroos live close by the sea. I'm normally used to them living right inland, near the farms, in the bush and so on. But there were literally dozens and dozens of them out on the headlands, looking down on the beaches, etc. And even occasionally we found them hopping along the beach. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. But my point is this. I've always enjoyed coming to church and telling children's stories that talk about us being kind to animals. Because in our being kind to animals, I think it develops in an attitude of how we treat other people. And I believe that in being kind to animals, we're also helping God's creation, we're helping the environment and doing all those things that are appropriate there as well. But we're really grateful that God has given us animals to care for. Sometimes I get worried when I consider how much money we have spent in feeding some butcher birds that keep coming in 3 times a day for feed. When we're out sitting on the veranda having a meal, they come for their meal. And so cashew nuts are their favourite food, but they're expensive. Anyway, but we're being kind to those animals too, aren't they? And they're nesting at the moment. When we came back from our holiday, they didn't appear for a while, and all of a sudden from a different direction they came flying in, and obviously they're nesting because they were taking food back to the nest. And so maybe before long we'll be feeding more than 3 or 4 butcher birds. It might be a few more. But we've got to be kind to animals, don't we? Now, why did I put this picture in just before you go back to your seat? Well, Ivan, who asked me to tell the children's story, after I decided to tell this story, he sent a text message saying, I love children's stories that connect with the theme of the church service. Well, I thought for a long time, and Ivan, the only thing I can work out about a theme from that story is that there's an animal coming out of the sea. And in Daniel 7 today, there's going to be 4 wild animals coming out of the sea. So that's why that picture's in there for for Ivan to see the connection with our sermon and children's story. So the real point is, let's be kind to animals. And here's another story about another man up in Queensland who was kind to wallaby also and rescued it, but it was more active and alive, and he had to hold it with one arm. So let's not forget that, and I hope you enjoy the animals that come into your life, both past, present and future. Good, you can go back to your seat.